few years ago, I had the opportunity to meet with David Beckham in London, through a mutual friend. And one conversation led to another, and there was actually no agenda for that meeting. It was just, hey, you know what? Of course, do you want to meet David Beckham? It's like, who would say no,
yeah,
right?
Totally, right?
And then, yeah, sure, yeah, right. And it's okay. So we got a chance to meet, and then I was very intrigued by his story. Of course, everyone knows him and what's he working on next.
Right.
And he had such a big passion on health and wellness that was very evident from the time we met.
Welcome back to the Morning on the Move podcast. I'm your host, Morning Salab. Today's guest, Danny Yeung, CEO and co-founder of Prenetics and the newly launched IM8 in partnership with David Beckham.
We all know people are living longer.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do next to put those vital nutrients into our everyday life?
Yeah.
I think that's what's important about this. Like I said, we are living longer, and thankfully, but it's something that we really need to focus on. What we put in our body, when we put in our, and it's not just the ingredients that is going in, it's the level of ingredients that are going in. And I think that we've always been, we're very honest about exactly what is going in and the level of nutrients and ingredients that is going in our product. And I think that is something, that we've been very honest about.
Shout out to our partners at Ketone IQ and SciFox Health. Now, on to our conversation.
Danny, it's so awesome to meet you. Thank you so much for dropping into the Morning on the Move podcast today.
Thank you, Marnie, for having me. Very excited to be here today.
But I am loving your new consumer-focused product, IM8. Talk to me a little bit about the ingredients, where the idea started, dial my listeners into what IM8 is all about.
Yeah, no, great question, right? Yeah, so the origins of IM8 actually started from Prenetics.
Right.
So Prenetics-wise, I'm the co-founder and CEO, as you know. So we started this back in 2014.
Okay.
And the idea for Prenetics is actually for prevention and genetics.
Yes.
So our core business is actually in really deep science. Yeah.
Yes.
So a big part of our research is actually now in cancer research. And then a few years ago, I had the opportunity to meet with David Beckham in London, through a mutual friend. And one conversation led to another, and there was actually no agenda for that meeting. It was just, hey, you know what? Of course, do you want to meet David Beckham? It's like, who would say no,
yeah,
right?
Totally, right?
And then, yeah, sure, yeah, right. And it's okay. So we got a chance to meet, and then I was very intrigued by his story. Of course, everyone knows him and what's he working on next.
Right.
And he had such a big passion on health and wellness that was very evident from the time we met. And of course, he asked me questions in terms of, hey, what is Prenetics? What are we doing? And he was also very fascinated by the science piece and the team that was behind Prenetics. So I then introduced him to Professor Dennis Lo. And first, Professor Dennis Lo, he's actually one of the world's most influential scientists in the world in liquid biopsy. He was actually the inventor of non-invasive prenatal testing back in 1997, which is a blood test to detect Down syndrome in the fetus. Yeah, at week 10. Yeah. So of course, his invention has really changed the landscape of molecular diagnostics. And then where does that lead to IM8? And when me and David started talking, it's like, can we really put science to great use and create a brand where it's highly trusted, reputable, and putting the best ingredients into a supplement, into the supplements category, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it got started. And then of course we said, hey, what is it that we want to do? And Dave was mentioning, he just wants to simplify it, right?
Right.
Himself, of course, he's been taking supplements for the last 30 plus years.
Right.
He's got great medical people by his side, great trainers, and he's taking a dozen or so supplements, 15, 16 on a daily basis. There must be a better way to do this, right? So when it got to me, it's like, you know what? We believe we can do this. So we started recruiting the best scientific experts, people like Dr. Dawn Musalam from Mayo Clinic.
Right, and she's going to be on the show tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, amazing.
She's coming to my studio.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's amazing.
I won't steal the thunder from her own story, but we're just so fortunate to have her on side. Dr. James D, cardiovascular research scientist, Dr. James Green, the former chief scientist of NASA, and was there for 42 years. Professor Suzanne Devkota from Cedars-Sinai. So the list goes on and on. And then, so this process started roughly around two years ago, and here we are today with the product, which is our hero product, Daily Ultimate Essentials. And the goal is to basically simplify supplementation by replacing 16 different supplements in a delicious drink.
It is delicious, I will say that. And I was pleasantly surprised. So that's a huge win. And I love that you have, I'm just going to talk about the ingredient.
Please.
I know I asked Danny about the ingredients, but we know I'm going to talk about them anyway. I love that you have vitamin D and K. I love the CoQ10. I love like the some of the ingredients that talk to me about like some of the ingredients that are like more than what is typically in this kind of drink, and then also like why.
Yeah, again, when we looked into the market wise, right? I mean, there's a lot of proclaimed all-in-one supplements,
right?
Yeah, but when we really look through it and we put it to the test of doctors, scientists, etc., it's like, hey, there's so much more that we can do.
Right.
And of course, this would need to be a more premium product, yeah. But at the same time, hey, we said, it has to be affordable and accessible.
Yes.
So I think you see that too,
yeah,
right?
I see that.
With amazing ingredients, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned, hey, we have all of your A to Z multivitamins, your B vitamins, D3, K2.
And levels that people can digest.
Yes, clinical dosages
Yes.
that are easily absorbable, like you mentioned CoQ10, right?
Yeah.
We have 100 milligrams of CoQ10, which is the clinical dosage. We have 1,000 milligrams of MSM, right? And these are typical ingredients where, you go to any drugstore right now, you go to Walgreens, whatever, CoQ10 costs $30 USD just for 100 milligrams.
Yeah.
And then you're able to get 92 nutrient-rich ingredients in clinical dosages, including your prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, and digestive enzymes.
And hydration.
And hydration.
Which is, for athletes, that's great because, you don't, like water is great, but everybody needs to have electrolytes like magnesium and sodium.
Correct. Yeah, so we have magnesium, potassium, sodium, all in this formulation, again, which works synergistically and to be, to have been proven already via clinical
there's tons of
trials.
science behind it.
Yes.
So you can go on PubMed and look up all the science about all the supplements that people need to take every day.
Correct,
So, I love that. So Prenetics, I want to talk about Prenetics, and I might geek out, but and then I also I want to know what inspired you to get into this health tech and wellness industry. So, but Prenetics, you have developed some of the most incredible genetic testing. You've developed something for COVID-19 testing during the pandemic, and some really amazing game-changing products that have really helped people around the world. What are some of the products? What is the early cancer detection product? And then maybe talk to me a little bit about the COVID-19 product testing. Yeah.
I'm not a scientist. I never pretend to be. But
you're a serial entrepreneur.
I'm an entrepreneur. I read a lot.
Yeah.
So my previous background is actually in e-commerce.
Right.
So I started an e-commerce company.
When you were 25?
No, I wish. So roughly about 2010.
Okay.
And then that was acquired by Groupon.
Uh-huh.
And then so at Groupon, I led up their East Asia operations. I exited that in 2014, and at that time I was thinking, hey, I've already done that. I was very fortunate to accomplish what I've been able to do at such a young age at that time, and wanted to do something in healthcare because I felt, hey, there wasn't that many entrepreneurs tackling this space. Then I reached out to geneticists, scientists, very, very much smarter people than myself, and I just wanted to learn. Right? I Googled a lot, understanding about genetics and science and etc. And now I feel very comfortable talking to any scientist or any doctor. And so I've been very fortunate on that. And through the last 10 years, we've just been fortunate to be able to position where we can help millions of people.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned with the COVID-19 testing, this was early on in 2020. We were the organization that actually helped the Premier League in the UK resume their training and season across 20 clubs.
Okay.
So we did that on a weekly basis, testing them for PCR testing. In Hong Kong, we also, we're the largest provider of PCR testing to the government. And at one point, we were doing 40,000 PCR tests between UK and Hong Kong.
Wow.
In those 3 years, looking back, it was quite crazy times because it was probably the most difficult time in my entrepreneurial journey because it was literally 24/7, and because you have to test people need their results very fast.
Yeah.
And we did over 28 million tests in a 3-year period of time, 40,000 tests on a daily basis at one point, and the operations was we had like thousands of people just.
So how did you get into this? Like, did you have like a health thing, or are you into health and fitness, or like was there a moment where you were like, this is the direction I want to go in because of X, or?
Yeah, so I think, again,
I mean,
at a turning point wise, right, again, in my
Yeah.
entrepreneur career, I think I was very fortunate at that time in 2014. I could have done a lot. I could
Right.
have went back into e-commerce.
Right.
But I think that was also the time where, you know, the birth of my first daughter, Danica, came. And then once that happens, you're starting thinking more about health.
Right.
You're thinking much more long term. And so that spurred, hey, you know what? Health is really important. And then I think in the last 10 years wise, I've really been, you know, focusing and been a priority for me, right? And then now with IM8, I think we're just able to make a bigger impact
Yeah.
as this consumer.
Yes.
And now we're shipping to 31 countries.
awesome. And do you, like, how do you stay healthy and fit yourself?
Yeah, of course, I start every day with IM8, right?
Right.
It's been a routine and a staple. So even, again, for exercise, and again, we always believe IM8 is not a magic pill or a magic powder, but it's a movement and a lifestyle that, hey, you know what, the first thing you should get is your proper nutrition.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm sure you know 80% of the population's world, they don't get the proper nutrients on a daily basis.
Right.
So you start with that. Of course, exercise, diet is quite critical. Even yesterday when I flew 16 hours from Hong Kong to New York, the first thing I did when I got to the hotel was I went to the gym for 30 minutes.
Right.
Right?
What are you doing at the gym? Strength, running?
Yeah, yesterday I was doing strength training,
Yeah.
building a little bit muscle, right? And then so I think that's very important as you get
Yeah.
older.
And staying hydrated.
Yes, staying hydrated, yeah, of course.
Talk to me a little bit about Insighta and the early cancer detection products that you have.
Yeah, so within Prenetics wise, we have another venture called Insighta, and
Yeah.
this is in partnership with Professor Dennis Lowe. And then so again, as mentioned, he developed a blood test to detect Down syndrome week 10 back in '97. Right?
Okay.
And after that, he's given his whole life to life sciences.
Right.
He's found a new technology called fragmentomics. Again, very similar, looking at the blood.
Okay.
But once cancer flows into blood, you're able to look at fragments of cancer DNA early, right? And then so we're looking at 3 different cancers right now: liver cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer. Yeah, and again, the idea here is that via a simple blood test or urine test for prostate, you'll be able to detect at 90% sensitivity early stages of cancer. And again, we want to make it accessible, right? So the price target that we've set is actually under 200 USD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So right now,
These blood tests, are they DIY? Like you can do them at home?
No,
or?
it's still a clinical test.
Okay, still
It would be
clinical.
a clinical test, but eventually, I think when we think about the next 5, 10, 15 years, that's where the movement's headed, is that
Yeah.
you should be able to perform these in the comfort of your own home, right? So
Right.
we're still in clinical trials for that, but we expect to get out the product within the next 3 years.
Awesome. And where do you see the future of IM8 going and your partnership with David Beckham, and how is that kind of rolling out over the next few years?
No, I mean, we're incredibly excited to be here in New York, with David today. It's actually our physical launch event. Yeah, and he was, on the Today Show this morning talking about IM8, which is
That's huge.
Yeah, it's incredible, right, for a new brand.
Yeah.
So I think the level of awareness and credibility that he gives his brand is significant. His team is intimately involved, and I was kidding around with him earlier. It's like maybe too much involved, but it's a
Look,
good thing.
This isn't your first rodeo as a CEO and co-founder.
Correct, but it's a great thing, I feel,
Yeah.
right? Because again, when you hear him speak, and he really cares about every partnership that he's all in, right? And then so it's not just about a face on the brand, but you see we're working with his team on a weekly basis. We're on 2-3 calls on a weekly basis on product, brand, marketing, the whole 9 yards. And so this is really true partnership.
And this is available on the IM8 website,
Yeah,
like direct-to-consumer, IM8 Health website.
IM8health.com. We had a soft launch online November 18th, and today we've had right now more than 13,000 orders online, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
since this morning?
No, not since that.
Because it's probably more. You
Yes,
probably have like millions now.
No, but I think I think what David and myself are very proud of really is actually the results, the feedback that we're getting from our family and friends that are using the product in terms of, again, people gut health, they're feeling much better, they're feeling much more normalized, energy levels, endurance. Bobby Rich, David's and Victoria's trainer, that's telling me how it's improved his endurance.
Yeah.
And of course, David's been taking it every day. He's been sharing it with his whole family.
Yeah.
My dad's been taking it. My dad's 80 and he feels amazing.
Yeah.
After a few months on it, so we're incredibly happy with how it's been able to make people feel different and at their best.
Awesome. Are you guys NSF certified for sport?
Yes, so you get first news on this. So we just got certified, NSF content certified as well, NSF for sport. So what does that mean is that if you look at our ingredients, 92 ingredients, every single ingredient dosage per the label is third-party validated by NSF, in which NSF, actually there's two different levels, contents and sport.
Okay,
so
yeah.
we got both. That means it's free from 280 different contaminants. It's trusted by, WADA, NFL, MLB, etc. So if you're an athlete or anyone very active-wise, you can trust the quality and the ingredients in the product.
That's super important for my athlete listeners. I get those questions all the time from Awesome.
Yeah.
This has been amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Danny. It was great chatting with you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Awesome.